So now I want to show you on how to sew the down part of this style. So this is the front from half length down. This is it. So I want to show you how to fix lining on it. So here is the front. This is the front, this is the back. So I'll place this lining front of it facing the front of the material. I hope you are seeing it. This is the front of the lining, this is the front of the material, the fabric. So I'll start sewing by placing it. This place, it has stone, so I'm taking out the stone, so if not it will break my machine needle. So I'll be taking out those stones one after the other. So if you look at it, you will see that the main material is 2 inches longer than the lining. So after sewing this side, I'll turn the other side too. I'll sew the other side of it. There is stone here. I have to remove all the shining stone in order for my needle to be able to sew there, my machine to sew it, my needle to be able to pass through it. Alright. Break my machine needle. So I will take off the beads, helping me to be able to sew it. So after taking out the bead, I'll continue my sewing. While sewing this side that has bead, you have to sew it gradually. If not, your needle will hit on it and the needle will break. So I'm sewing it. When I get to the last point, I top stitch. So after sewing it, the next thing is to turn it inside out. So this is the lining and this is the material. So I have to turn it inside out. So after turning it inside out, this is the front. This is what I have for the front. I hope you can see it. This is the down part, and here is the back side. So I will now stitch this place. Looking at it, you can see that this place is still open. I will now stitch the I'll stitch it. So I've stitched it, as you see. So the next thing is I will do this at the back one. I will sew it the same way I'm sewing this one. After sewing it that same way, after turning it up with the lining, then I'll show you how to join it. So guys, I am done turning up the back. This is the back. I've turned in the lining. I've turned it up with the lining. This is the two pieces for the back, and here is the front. So I will iron it. After ironing it, then I will join it together. So now we'll move to the back, both the front and the back half length and the front half length. This is the back half length. So now to turn the back half length, this is the front. I'll place the front of the lining. So this is the front of the lining, this is the front. I'll make the front face each other. The right side I need to say, sorry. I'll make the right side to face each other. So I'll be removing this thing so that my needle will not hit on it. I hope you can see that. I'll sew this side too. After sewing it, I will now trim out the excess. So this is the neckline. I'll notch it. After notching it, I'll trim this side too. I'll also notch it. Then I'll turn it inside out. So this is one side of the back. I'll now close the armhole side. I'll stitch the armhole side. stitch I'll close the downside. So I will trim out the excess. So this is it. I'll do the same to the other side of the bag. So to sew the front, this is the center of the front one. This is the two sides. This is the two sides. So I will now fix the padded on this center one. To fit in the padded, the underbust is 13 inches. Remember, it's an off shoulder and we cut it by my loss 5. So my loss 5, I have 13 inches. So to get the measurement for the pad, which you will add, so when you minus 5 inches from 13, you will have 8 left. So to measure it now, I have 8 inches left. So I'll cut this pad. I'll cut the pad there. The size will be the same as that 8 inches. I hope you can see it. I have 8 inches here. So, and this is the side that has gum, and this is the side I don't have gum. So I'll place the back of this center front to the side that has gum. So after placing it this way, I'll trim it off. Then you can sew yours, or you can still use your gum to hold it. For me, I'll be using gum to hold it. If there is light, use the excess of this gum on this pad is for you to press it on the fabric so that it will gum. But if you don't have available light at the moment, you can stitch it, sew it, or use a gum to hold it. So me, I'm using gum. You make sure that the pad starts from the notch area. I hope you can see it. I notch it, so you make sure the pad starts from the notch area. So after doing this, you trim out the excess. So this is what I have. So I'll now fix the back one. To fix the back one, I'll fold this pad into 2, and I'll measure out 5 inches. This is 5 inches. I'll trim it out. You see, I folded it into 2. I measure out 5 inches. If you open it, it will be 10. If you fold it, it will be 5. So now to cut it, you get the midpoint of the 8 inches. That's the easy way to trace this. When you get to the midpoint, you measure 1 inch from here, from the dart. You connect it to this midpoint line. Then you measure another 1 inch to this downside. You connect it to the midpoint. So you make sure that this place is not sharp, so you give it a C curve. Make sure it doesn't have a sharp edge. So you trim it out. You see that? So after doing that, the next thing now is to fix it. So this is the one side of the pad. This is the side that has gum. So I'll place it this way. I hope you can see it. Making sure that the pad starts from the notch point. So I'll now hold it with my gum. Remember I told you you can iron your own if you have lights available, or you can run a stitches on it. Any way that it can be easy for you to hold it. Make sure that you hold it on the pad. You can do. So after this, I will now trim out the excess. So this is the one side. I'll also do the same to the other side. So this is the other side of it. I'll place the gum area to the, you see this place which you carve will go in. So the straight side will be the one out. I hope you are seeing this. So I'll hold it again with my gum. This is the gum I'm using, B6000. You can use Ihu gum or any gum available. The most important is for you to be able to hold it together with the pad. So after doing this, I'll trim out this excess. So to sew it now, this is the center and this is one of the sides. So I'll place it like this. I hope you see, this is the center and this is the one side of the blouse. So I'll place it this way. Making sure that the notch area line together. As you can see, the notch area. Then I'll hold it this way. After holding it this way, let me use a pen to mark it out for you. I will now sew it this way. This is how my thread will go. But if you don't want to mark it this way, another easy way to mark it is, since what you have here is 8 inches, the upper side will be higher than the down side. So you will not divide it equal, like 8 divided by 2 will give you 4. No, you will make sure that the upper side is ½ inch longer than the down part. So I will now mark, I will divide it 4.5 over 3.5. 4.5 over 3.5 give you 8 inches. So all you have to do, you place your tape this way to get the nipples to nipples measurement. You place your tape, you mark 4.5, and the remaining 3.5 stops here. It stops here. So all you have to do, you sew here straight. You keep sewing straight as I'm marking it. So when you get to this midpoint, you now curve it down to this area. Then when you get here, you give it a little curve and then you go straight down. This is the way I do sew my pad, and it's giving me a perfect job. So but before I sew this, I need to take out these stones so that it won't break my machine needle. So after that, I'll now sew it. So after taking out the stones, I'll now start sewing. So I'm sewing through the line that I marked. After sewing it, then I'll trim out some excesses so that the cup will be able to form very well. So I only sew one side, then I will sew the other side right now. I will also mark it the same way I marked the first one. Remember I told you, since the padded from -5 to under bust is 13, then that 13 inches, when you -5 inches, you will have 8 inches left, which I have here. So in order to sew padded, you will not divide that 8 inches into 2, which is 8 divided by 2 will give you 4. No, the upper side of the padded will be longer than the downside of the pad. So all you have to do is make sure that the upper side is ½ inch longer than the downside. So it will be 4.5 over 3.5. If the person measurement is 10 inches, it will be 5.5 over 4.5. If it's 9 inches, it will be 5 inches over 4 inches. The upper one must be ½ inch longer, than the downside. So I've marked my 4.5 like I did the other one. So all I have to do now is I'll sew straight. While I'm using pen is for you to understand what I'm doing. I'll sew straight. When I get to this point, I'll now curve my hand a little. I'll curve my hand a little. When I get to this 8 inches point, I will now curve it down to the down part. So this is what I will sew now. After sewing, I'll trim it out. Make sure that you don't cut where you sew. So then I'll turn it up. This excess part I have here, I'll trim it out. You can leave your own after sewing, then you trim it out. I'm trimming mine first, then I'll proceed. So this is it. Then I have to measure it to know if I have, remember the nipples to nipples measurement of the person who has this cloth is 9 inches. So I have to measure it to make sure that I have 9 inches. accurate measurement, so I have to stitch this, make it to rhyme very well. If you look at it, it doesn't balance yet, so I need to stitch it to make it balance. So now, after sewing the padded, as you can see, sew it, see everything. I trim out the inside, I trim the inside again so that it will give it a nice shape like what I'm doing now. I don't want the side part to be too long, so I'll trim it. This is the inside and this is the front. So now I'll top stitch it. I'll top stitch it. I'm top stitching it. I make sure that I take out every stone around places that I will sew to avoid it breaking my machine needle. So after doing this side, I'll top stitch the other side too. I'm taking out these stones. Yay! You have to be careful so that it won't tear the net. So I've stopped stitch it. I hope you can see it. Though the fitting will come out once the person wear it. Then I will iron it very well. I'll iron it very well. So now I'll be showing you on how to sew the lining. So this is the lining. This is the center part. This is the two sides. So I'll sew it almost the same way that I sew this padded. So all I have to do, I'll place the right side of one side. I'll place one side to the other center side. Then I'll measure out my 8 inches. Remember, this is my 8 inches. Then I'll measure my 4.5 inches. I'll now sew. I'll do the same to the other side. So I've sewn it. Then the next thing is to measure it with the part to make sure that the both lines are together. If the lines are not together, then you short you take more and sew from the lining. So this is the line from the lining and the line from the padded, and this is the other line. Looking at it, they are together, and you shake the same thing this side too. If they are not together, you need to make it too. Okay, this side is not together, so I need to sew more from the lining. After trimming out the excess, I top stitch it. So after stop stitching it, then the next thing is to sew it together with the pad. But before attaching the lining, I need to carve the neckline. But I will be carving this neckline according to the design I have on that neck. So I will bring out the design. I will show you. If the design has a straight curve, then I'll be carving this straight. If it has a U curve, I will also be doing that. So let me get the design first. So looking at the design, this is the front design. I'll use it to design the cloth. This is the padded that I sew. So looking at the design I have, you see it, the design is straight. So because the design is straight, I won't be covering the front neck round. So I'll be covering it straight as it is. So this is the design I will fix on it. I hope you are seeing what I'm showing you. I will fix this design on it. So now to carve the neck, I'll fold the fabric. I'll fold the padded, into two, as you can see. Then I'll be carving it straight. The reason I need to carve it is so that it won't be too high on the person wearing it. I hope you see what I just did. I cut it straight. So this is how I'll be fixing the lining. I hope you can see the way it is on my breast. Though it's not my size. I am not the owner of the cloth, but this is how it is on my breast. Then this design will be on it like this. I'll be fixing it. Though I'll trim this design. I'll trim the net. After trimming it, I'll be fixing the design like this. Then after fixing the design, I'll be adding it up, joining it to the down part of the gown. I hope you can see that. So now to fix in the lining, all I have to do is I will take the lining. This is the back. I'll face the front. I'll make sure the front is facing each other, as you can see. So now I will run the stitches on it, making sure that the lines are together, the two lines are together. Then I'll start stitching. So after sewing here now, I'll trim it to be neat. I'll trim out all this excess. Then then I'll launch it. I make sure that I launch my stitches very well. It helps the cloth to run, but don't cut to where you stitch. That one will be another work to you. Just make sure that your launching will not get to the stitching line. So after that, I'll sew this side, I'll sew here and sew here. So I am sewing the side now. So after sewing, I will now trim out all the excess line which I have. I'll trim it out. I'll also do the same to this side. Then I will turn it inside out. So after turning it, then I'll top stitch here. So after the top stitching, I'll close the downside. I'll close this side. So I will trim the rough edge out. So this is the padded, this is the front, and this is the inside. I hope you can see how neat it is. But looking at this cloth, you see that I've not carved the armhole. So I will carve the I will show you how to carve the armhole. Because normally if I am cutting my padded, I don't carve the armhole immediately. I carve it after sewing. That's how I do mine. I hope you can see how neat it is. So if I want to iron it, I'll make use of this thing. It will help me to give it a neat ironing. I hope you can see that. I'll iron it with this to help me to give it a neat ironing. So this is the pad and the back. This is the back. I'll iron it first. I'll give it a neat ironing. After ironing it, then I'll now join both the side. I'll now join everything. This is the down part. So I'll give it a neat ironing first before I proceed. Alright, this is the front skirt. I hope you can see it. This is the down part. So now I want to cut the drape by the side of it. You know, so to measure the length of the skirt I have here, I have 45.5 in total. While I want the drape to be at least from here to here, which should be 31, or rather 32. From here to here, 32. Okay, let me make it 31. This is where I want the drape to stop at. So to cut it now, 31 inches. So this is the cloth. To cut it, I'll measure 31 inch and mark it. Remember, I'm gonna be using this side. So I'll use my chalk to mark out 31, adding half allowance for joining to be 31.5 inch. So after cutting my 31 inches, then I'll measure it and see what I have in total. Since the width of the skirt is 34.5, I will double it, giving me 49 inches. So I'll mark out 49 inches for the drape. So the length is 31.5 by 49 inches. That's the length of the drape. The length and the width. So I'll be cutting it out. So I've cut out the drape. Cut out the drape. So all I have to do now, this is the sketch. Remember that the drape normally be like a wrapper. It's kind of cutting two-step wrapper, turning it to gown. So the drape will be at the left side, not at the right. So looking at it now, I'm attaching the drape. So this is it. I'll stitch here, while this side will be a place where I'll print it. I'll print it this side while I will stitch it this side. So after sewing it, I will now show you everything. So to put the dart, this is the front skirt, as in the front pattern. So I want to put under. This is the upper side, the half length, the padded which I sew. So to put that on my front skirt, I will measure the lines between the, as in the two lines. The padded line, as you can see, I have line here and I have line here. Normally to sew that is 4 by 6. When you open it, it will be 8. But because I want the line of that to run with the line of this padded, I'll measure what I have here. So I measure what I have here and I have 6. So that's 6. I folded this fabric into 2. I'll be adding 1 inch sewing allowance, which will give me 7. So 7 divided by 2 will give me 3.5. So I'll mark 3.5 by 6. This line is for my dart. I'll also do the same to the other side. And half by 6. sew it by 1/2 inch. So I've sewn my dart. So I'll measure it to make sure that I have 6. So I have 6 exactly. Then the next thing is to fix the drape. I will now fix the drape. So I fixed the drape. As you can see, I pin it down. This is the right side, while the flowing side will be at the left side, as you can see. So after sewing here, I will now print this part. There is it. So let me sew this side first. Guys, coming to the down part of the gown, I am about to, I've fixed the drape already, so I want to show you guys how I fix it. I first of all stitch here. This is the drape, as you can see. I stitch it to the side, one side of the skirt, then to the front of it. I stitch it down to here, then I slant it a bit, then I print 2 steps on it. So as it is now, I'll run a stitch here, I'll run a stitch here, I'll also run a stitch here. Then by the side, here, I'll also run a stitch, a straight stitch to this point, so that I can be able to hold the drape frame and fit it. So I'll proceed by running a stitch on it. I hope you can see what I did here. 3, I made a print here. That is exactly what I have on the picture, which I'm working on. So the next thing now, I'll run a stitch. After running a stitch, then I'll fix the upper part. After fixing the upper part, I'll fix the back zip. After fixing the zip, I'll now put it on a dummy for you to see the final outcome. Alright, so now I'll proceed. Alright guys, now I want to fix the zip. I'll be fixing the zip first to the upper side, then after joining the half length to the down part, I will now complete the zip. So this is how I'm fixing this one now. There are 2 different ways, or even 3 of fixing zip, but I'm using this method. I want to fix this zip first is because I want to attach the upper design. So to the rose sleeve, as you can see, I'm already fixing it. I cut out a straight something. I measured 9 inches over 15. The length is 15, while the wide is 9 inches. So I fold it into 2 and then sew it in. So you see what I have at the back. You see the front rows. So I'll keep on printing this flare. I'll keep on printing it with my hand needle. As you can see, it's already forming that rose. I'll keep on printing it until I get what I want. So the outcome will look somehow like this. So after fixing it, then I'll show you the final outcome of it. So now let's proceed with our zip. So to fix this one, you have to make sure that this side rhyme together. Hope you are seeing it. So I'll be running my stitches on the line beside the teeth of the zip. So as you can see, I've fixed the zip. Though this side rhymes together, but to the downside, one side is longer than the other. So I'll cut it out while attaching it to the down part. So I'll now put my dart. So to put my dart, I'll measure from this edge. I'll measure 5 inch. The length will be, the width will be 5 inch. 5 inches over 4.5. This is the line I will run my stitches. Then I will measure the same thing to the other side. So I sew it by 1/2 inch. I take 1/2 inch to both sides. This is the front. So the next thing now, I'll join both the front and the back together. I'll close the two sides. So the bust measurement is 36 divided by 2 will give me 19. 36 divided by 4, will give me 19 inches, and I have 22 here. So 22 minus 19, I will have 3 inches left. So I'll mark 1.5 this side. Then I'll also mark 1.5 inch this side. Then the waist area, the waist measurement is 30 inches divided by 4 will give me 7, and 30 inches divided by 2 will give me 15, 15. I have 21 in total here. So when I take out 15, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll mark 3 inches to the both sides. 3 inches. Then the bust is 36 divided by 2, not by 4, I'll have 18 inches. So 18 inches, I have 21. So I'll mark 2 inch this side, 2 inch the other side. So I'll sew it down. after this now, I'll trim the armhole. I'll trim the front armhole. So after this now, the next thing is to fix the design.